if the goal is just more higher number in the bank account or investment account, and that's it, not, okay, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to create? Who are you going to help? Then obviously it leads to misery, because you don't need, there's a level where it's, and I don't even think the number is that high, where it's like, okay, there's enough there. I'm more than comfortable. I can generally acquire and have the things that I want and have a good life. And when you see people hit that level, I've spoken about this with some very wealthy people who have friends who are much wealthier than they are, right? They might be worth 50 million and they're friends with someone who's worth 500 million or someone who's worth 5 billion. And it's just like, really, as a human being in this life here on earth, like, man, I'm all for ambition and squeeze all the potential out that you can. But like, if you've got 100 million, is another 100 million.
Yeah.
right? Just for you as an individual.
Yeah.
What can you get with 200 million that the 100 million wasn't doing?
Well, the only thing you can get is a new rabbit to chase.
Yes.
If you're not fulfilled, right? So you think, oh, this will now fulfill me. You know, this money will now, this status, this fame that I'll get from doing that, like, you know, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, once you realize that, and you can only truly realize it until you achieve it. So, like, you know, for people who haven't achieved those types of things, how could you accept that as fact?
You know what? I don't think you need to get even close to that to understand it. Like, I'm nowhere near that level.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you can already see, even from where I'm at, it's like, okay, buying that first Rolex is nice.
Yeah.
That first sports car, it's like, okay, well, all right, bro, you've got 8 now. Like, is the 9th one, right? Is the 9th one going to feel like...
I think the 9th one's going to do it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? When you get people, it's like, cool, I got 30, 40, 50. It's just like, okay.
But you got to remember, like, that's for them. But, like, you know, when you're first starting out, you're like, dude, if I could make 100,000,
for sure,
like, bro, my life would be good.
Yep.
And then you make 100, and you're like, all right, it's not as good as I thought. And now I got bills and inflation, and maybe I got to like, okay, I really need to make 250.
Yeah.
And so you play this game and you get to 250, and then, you know, your lifestyle increases. And, you know, like, typically the person who's able to strive and hit a goal like that is very driven, and, you know, they want to get better. And so it's like, it's this weird dynamic where successful people are usually, you know, very driven, and, you know, they're never satisfied. And so they never reach this place of being both content but also driven.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I was content when I was making $1,200 a month. I wasn't rich. I was always content because of faith, because of everything else. I was like, dude, I'm a pro baseball player. Like, I may not be making money, but I'm living my dream. And, like, I know one day I'm going to get there. I had faith. Now, I never made it to the big leagues, you know, never got there. I made more money in one real estate deal than 8 years of playing baseball, you know? And so, but that was never the goal. Yeah. Like, would I, you know, in hindsight, not play those 8 years? Absolutely not. I loved it every minute. You know, I had my trials, my adversities. I got released. I had terrible games. I had fans booing me. I had to be away from my wife, you know, while she was in school and I was in season. So, like, you know, but that experience developed me into who I am today. And, you know, you learn to be content with little. You'll for sure be content with a lot. And so you were actually talking about it on my podcast, where, you know, you get these people who, you know, if you're a coward to begin with, this is what you said. If you're a coward and you make a lot of money, well, you're still a coward with a lot of money.
You're like, a coward.
Yeah, nothing changed. You're still a coward. Yeah. And the same is true here, right? Like, if you were content and happy and faithful with little, you will be faithful with much.
Exactly.
And, like, God talks about this in the Bible. Like, it's literally in the Bible that if you are a good steward of little, he will entrust you with more. It's a promise. It's not like he might, he will. And it's the same thing. Like, you were also bringing up the fact of, you know, somebody has, you know, 100,000. They're the same as the guy with 1 million. Like, they both don't think they have enough, right, for their level. Like, it's weird. Yeah. I think that's why God gave us tithing. It was like, okay, 10%. It's equal all the way around. It has no matter. It's the same proportion no matter what you have. So I remember, like I said, I grew up in the church, and I was by no means was perfect, but like I started tithing when I was like 16 years old.
Okay.
And so I remember like making $1,200 and I'm like, I got to give $120. Like this is really difficult.
That's a lot.
Like, I have no money.
Yeah.
And then I remember making $25,000 on that first flip. And I remember thinking, holy crap, $2,500? That's a lot. Like, does the church really need this? This is a lot of money. And like, I had to really decide, like, am I actually a generous person? Or, you know, am I going to, you know, not be, because all of a sudden I got a lot of money, which, you know, actually in hindsight isn't even a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I did, you know, faithfully after a lot of wrestling with myself, right? And then I remember, you know, the first time I made $1 million, and it's like, I got to give $100,000. Like, not that I gotta, but like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
Right? And at that point, to be honest with you, it was easier to do that than it was before that.
Interesting.
Because at that point, you just build up all these habits and everything else, and you're like, oh yeah, I give. And, you know, people will say, well, yeah, if I had $1 million, dude, I give 100,000 too. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
If you can't even give $100 out of your 1,000, there ain't no way you're giving 100,000.
Yeah. What do you think is the best thing of having a lot of money? What's the best thing about it?
Options.
Tell me more.
I think that, you know, everyone values different things, right? So money gives you options. You can buy back your time by, you know, hiring people to do tasks for you now. You have the option to go travel. You have the option to buy nice things. You have the option to give, support the things you want to support. You get the option to start a new business. Like, you have options. And so you can do what your heart or your character desires. That's the benefit of money. You know, I always say money's just an amplifier. It only amplifies who you already are. So if you were generous to before, I mean, you're just going to be even more generous with money. You'd be like, dude, I was given everything I had before. Like, this is great. You're not going to all of a sudden flip the switch. And, you know, it's just, for me, it's options.
Yeah. I think money and power are both amplifiers. I think people think, oh, they change people. I'm like, I think it more brings out what was already in you. If you already had a little bit of a drug problem, and then you become a multi-millionaire, now you've got a massive drug problem.